So, can you tell me how you got started with, being able to run a mobile business, and I guess you can go through how you designed your business and just made it so that you could actually travel the world and run your business at the same time.
Okay, well, having a mobile business is sort of a side goal of mine. I think the main goal is I wanted to be an entrepreneur, run my own business. It started with, I started the website originally. I started the blog as sort of a marketing platform, a way to get my ideas across. And I was actually going to work on software that would be related to it. And I did one small project with that and realized that it was a terrible idea. Didn't go very well for the amount of effort I put into it. So, but the positive side effect is that there were a lot of people who were interested in my writing, and I built up a small audience through my blog. So it kind of opened up a different opportunity, which was to expand the blog, which had the topics of learning success, changing habits, a lot of those kind of issues, also some more general topics. And it was popular. And so I eventually spun that out into writing ebooks, which provided some income for the site. And as I was saying to you earlier, more recently I started a coaching and tutoring program, which is sort of aimed at students, which is sort of a hybrid between an information product and like a personal service. So those sort of supplying the revenue for the business.
Okay. You said it's like a tutoring for students? Or?
Right. So the program that I was talking about, it's called Learning on Steroids. It's a program designed to give students rapid learning tactics, so ways that they can learn faster, organize themselves, both if they're in school for studying, that's sort of the main focus, but also if you're trying to educate yourself, what's a way you can organize yourself so you can learn new material faster, teach yourself things. And it's a combination of little mini ebooks which cover ideas that I've worked on with readers of the site, and also feedback with me so that people can ask questions and I can answer them and provide like detailed response. So it's sort of a hybrid of those two kind of approaches.
Okay, that's pretty cool. When I was on your website, I was trying to like decide. I was like, okay, productivity guru, and then also learning things quicker, and then you have, I guess, a few articles on lifestyle design because you kind of designed your life, and I wasn't really clear if the product you just described was teaching business and like learning quicker, or if it was just study skills and how to learn quicker. But that really cleared it up for me. So clearly you are a productivity guru, and you've written many books. I've seen many books on your website. But how did you get into writing those books about those topics? Was it just personal interest, or did you do market research on what people were looking for?
Well, for me, first of all, I can't claim to be a guru on that. I think that it's more just I have maybe an unhealthy interest in figuring out how people work, the psychology of doing things for working. And mostly it was just a personal interest. A few years back, I had tons and tons of work. I was trying to do full-time classes, international projects, several volunteer positions, and writing a book and running a business all at the same time. And so trying to do all of that really pushed me to find a lot of these kind of methods, whereas a lot of other peers I know didn't maybe have the same kind of pressure to discover them maybe. And that sort of led me onto the path, and I really am interested in the ideas of how to get more with less effort. So that's sort of how these kind of situation evolved and how I started researching it. And then people responded positively to the articles I wrote, so that kind of evolved into the book.
Okay. And yeah, your articles are very good, and well, what more is there to be said? I can understand how you developed a following, because there's a lot of blogs out there, and most of them, I would say, don't have quality articles on them. They're kind of just thrown together or random thoughts that the person has during the day. But yours are really good information on a variety of topics.
Well, thank you. I really try this. I have a lot of blogs that I follow that I think are much better than my own, so I try to always keep the bar high for my writing.
Really?
Some people think that it's succeeding.
What are some of the blogs that you follow?
calnewport.com/blog. Cal Newport is a good friend of mine and one of the best bloggers I know of on productivity, career decisions, life success. Ben Casnoka, also Benny Lewis, fluentin3months.com. Those are the ones that I'm pulling off the top of my head right now, but I have a few more in my RSS readership that I look through and follow pretty regularly. But those are some bloggers that I really respect and admire.
Both on productivity?
Benny Lewis is on language learning. That's fluentin3months.com. Ben Casnoka covers a lot about entrepreneurship, but more general issues and random thoughts. This has a less stringent focus on a particular topic, but he's a very insightful guy. I always get lots of ideas from him. And Cal Newport's blog is geared at student success, but I would say as of late it focuses more on like kind of broader issues of passion, lifestyle design, what's necessary to live an interesting life. And he has some really interesting thoughts in that. They're very well developed. So.
Okay, that's cool. Can you tell me more about Think Outside the Cubicle, and what is your main philosophy behind that book?
Okay, well, the idea of the book came from sort of my survey, like informal, this isn't in-depth market research, my informal survey of a lot of productivity advice it's given, which tends to focus on people working in traditional work environments where you're in front of a computer all day in an office, and the constraints that go with that, like namely, like you have a boss, you have to be there from 9 to 5, certain types of rules are in place with your work. And I know a lot of people, including myself as a student, as a freelancer, as an entrepreneur, who don't follow those rules, and yet they're still using that kind of ineffective system to get work done. So the whole central idea of the book is that if you get rid of those rules, how does that change the productivity advice you give someone? And the main thesis of the book, I would say, is that working from a time perspective, working from 9 to 5, as that is your benchmark for how you should work your day, isn't very effective. And I replace it with a task-based approach where it's not how many hours you're at the job or how many hours you're putting in per day, but rather you have a few key tasks that you want to complete during the day, and for the most part you focus on completing those tasks. And I found that to be a lot more effective for combating procrastination, which is something I know a lot of students face and a lot of entrepreneurs face and freelancers face, is that they sit and they waste a lot of time on things that aren't that important. And the philosophy of the book is that if you switch a few key things, which are pretty simple to do, then I think that really reduces a lot of that urge to procrastinate.
Okay. Well, that sounds really good. I mean, I was looking at that book, but I was like, well, Think Outside the Cubicle. I was like, yeah. The title, when you look at the title, it kind of seems like, yeah, think outside the box, think outside the cubicle. I don't know what would be really unique about this book, but when you described it, I can see how it can have a lot of useful information, especially for students that, like me, who can sit there for an entire day or maybe 8 hours, working on something and really not get much done. So, I'll be interested in looking at that. Now,
well, it's the title of the book maybe is something that I made a mistake when I was writing the book, is that I thought it was a catchy title, but I think it kind of misleads people as to the content of the book. It's not really a book about how to start a business. I don't write any books about how to start a business online or anything like that. It's more just about considering your situation you're already in, whether you're a student or a freelancer or an entrepreneur and you're working at home, how can you get the most out of that? And that's the whole focus of the book.
Yeah, I kind of did think it was about starting a business now that you mention it. So I found your website probably by Google Reader. I'm setting it for Google Alerts on lifestyle design. Um, and I'm just curious, how have you applied that term to your life? Like, what specific things have you changed in the last couple of years to free yourself up to travel and run your
Well,
business?
for the perspective of travel, I don't know how much you've followed the blog, but I'm currently living in France
Mm-hmm.
at the moment. That's actually not through my business directly, although the business certainly supports me financially.
Okay.
That's student exchange. So I'm doing a year abroad as part of my university program, which is something that a lot of students have access to. Most universities, well, I shouldn't say most universities, but lots of universities have international programs that students can take advantage of them, but because most students don't study abroad, that those kind of opportunities get missed and they don't actively seek them. So that's one thing. The other thing has just been a more long-term focus on building certain elements of my life so that they create that ideal lifestyle. So
Mm-hmm.
working on the business is a big one because my goal is that when I graduate, when I finish all of my studies, that I have a healthy, reliable, full-time income from the blog and the business is associated with that. So I don't have to worry about doing a job hunt. I can have a lot more freedom in terms of what kind of things that I want to do, where I want to live. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I know you mentioned that you wanted to travel to Asia before we started the interview,
Mm-hmm.
and that's another thing that I've been thinking about too. I wouldn't mind going to Japan or South Korea and learning Korean or Japanese and live there for a year or something like that. So there is I can out of that.
Um, so you have an interest in language learning.
Yeah, well, that's something that started recently. I coming over to France, I started learning French. I didn't speak French before. I started learning about 5 months before, and I've been working on it for about 6 or 7 months. I'm at sort of an upper intermediate level, so I wouldn't claim to be fluent yet, but hopefully in the next 5 months before I go, I can claim that status. I have a lot of interest in a lot of different areas, learning different things, new skills, new ideas and stuff, and this is just sort of another part of the adventure. I think that a lot of lifestyle design has to really reflect that you need to build a life that facilitates interesting opportunities for these kind of things. So
Hmm. Yeah, Scott, I was under the impression that you were already graduated and that I didn't think that you were still a student, which that's really awesome because I would like to be able to help other students to kind of change this broke student, stigma. Like, oh, you're in college, no money, Um, so just the fact that you've been successful in going to school and running a business is very encouraging, and that shows that you have a lot to offer people. Um,
well, thank you. I actually started the blog and the website in my senior year of high school, and I've continued it throughout university. So it's started it a little bit early, but even if you're in the near the end of your program, I strongly suggest, not even from a financial point of view, but getting out and starting a blog, working on some kind of small, low-cost business, because it gives you so much experience, and there's a lot of intangible things you can really take away from it. Even if you want to get a job right after you graduate, having that kind of experience running a business, publishing your ideas, I think really gives you a leg up from all the other students who just graduate with student debt, and they don't graduate with any kind of reputation built up when they're looking for careers. So.
yeah. So I forget if it was uh, well on another blog. They're talking about putting your number of Twitter followers on your resume or something like that. I was like, okay.
Well, I don't know whether the number of followers or the number of readers is really the evidence of quality, because especially with older employers who maybe don't really quite understand the space, saying you have 1,000 Twitter followers, that might not be as impressive. But I think more than that, if you are writing on a particular subject, you're showing dedication. I think starting a business, or more particularly like a blog, a social media type of business in this area, it gives you a chance to express your personality, to show that you can commit to something. Obviously, if you're able to sustain a blog for 4 years, it says something about your ability to be dedicated towards something. And more importantly, it allows people to get to know you. Now, I know I've gotten a number of like freelancing writing opportunities, several opportunities just from having my blog. I know other blogger friends of mine who've been running a blog for 2 or 3 years, and they get speaking opportunities, and it builds a lot of, I would say, reputation capital in more than just financial terms, which is something that is very important, I think, when you're going out and you're starting your career as a young person.
Okay, cool. Reputation capital, a new term for me. I'm just curious, for personal reasons, what software do you use to create your ebooks? And specifically, the little image files that you have on your blog for the cover of the books. I just paid a freelancer to do that for me from guru.com, and the work was horrible. I mean, horrible.
Yeah. I definitely feel for you there, because I've been, for various projects, including some stuff that was going to be businesses and didn't end up being it. I've been working with freelancers for like over 6 years now, and I can say that the quality varies incredibly. So anybody who's starting out on that, I would definitely be careful who you hire. Try to get some sample of their work before you hire them. The other thing is that, especially for people starting a business, when they hear, oh, well, I have to start paying people to do stuff, that stuff comes later. I didn't pay anyone a cent for anything on my business until probably about a year into running the blog, and I was already earning ad revenue. So I've never had a month running the website where expenses exceeded revenues, except for maybe the $15 I had to pay in setup costs in the first month. But so just to say that for the way that I've done the ebooks from a production point of view, I'm trying to think. I believe 2 of them I had professionally designed. 2 or 3 of them I had professionally designed, and some of them I've also done myself. You can actually create an ebook really easily with OpenOffice.org Impress, which is basically the same as PowerPoint. I don't use PowerPoint, so it's the same as PowerPoint. It's a free alternative to PowerPoint. One of the nice features is it allows you to print the PowerPoint slide as a PDF, which each slide being a page. So you can set up a background and then just set up smaller text blocks and fill out an ebook that way. And I've done that before, and I think it can create a nice looking ebook. If you want to have something designed, then yeah, you might want to look into having a person do it. For the cover images, all the cover images in all of my books, I've done myself. I've had some practice using Illustrator programs, so those I've done myself. But by no means is that necessary to write an ebook. Almost everybody I know who has successfully sold ebooks hasn't done that, and they've still been successful. So that's not to mean that you need to have visual design skills in order to get going with this kind of thing.
Yeah, I kind of had the books in PDF form and everything set, ready to go. Mm-hmm. I just wanted a nice or a cool looking cover graphic that is like kind of a 3D image of a book, slightly open, like kind of what you have. Mm-hmm. And so I paid this freelancer to do it for me. And here's the thing. She said, go to my website to see my portfolio. I went to her website. I kind of wandered around for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, couldn't find her portfolio. So I just assumed that it must have been on there somewhere. But after I started working with her, I was just like, take the money, I don't want to see you anymore. Kind of, that's how our relationship ended.
That's an unfortunate experience. I recommend, I've used freelanceswitch.com. They are nice because they actually make the freelancers pay to see bids. So you only have professionals because you have to pay a membership in order to see job offers there, or the contact info for job offers. So whenever I've made a posting on Freelance Switch, web design gets a lot more responses. I have had some web design contracts, and I'll get 50 or 60 portfolios to look at, provided that you like make it clear up front that you're going to be paying for it and it's you're looking for professionals. But even PDF design, the cost ranges, but for PDF or image design, you can still get a dozen or so portfolios to look for, usually from really, really professional people. So the price varies, so you have to be careful with that, because I've been quoted for print designs anywhere from $100 to $10,000 for the same thing. So you have to be careful with that as well. But
can you spell that website?
I can send it to you if you want. Freelance Switch. So freelance and then switch, like the word. So you just go there. It's a pretty big site. They have a blog associated with it, which is really popular, geared towards freelancers. But I've been very happy with, again, mostly it's really good for web design if you want them to do web design, because I would say the majority of freelancers there are web designers. But I'm assuming even for writing and other kinds of design work, you could probably get a decent amount of applications. Okay. And it's completely free for job offers, is provided that you have a legitimate job offer that will pay.
Cool. So one more question. Where would you suggest someone start out, like specifically visiting your website? Like what resources would you point them to start out in their journey to getting more out of life?
Well, there's a lot of this stuff on the site. I have, first of all, most people who find this site tend to find it through one of the articles either being linked to, so that's usually the number one starting point. If you go on the site, in the top portion of the bar, I have links to some of the most popular articles, and if you scroll down to the bottom, I have the most popular articles by category. So depending on whether you're interested in my thoughts on entrepreneurship, or productivity, or learning, or general life philosophy, I have some of the most popular posts. I also have links, again, at the bottom of the page after you finish reading an article. I have links to some of my free ebooks. So there are some ebooks you can read there. I have one which is a general philosophy of the site, how to get more out of life. That's about 60 pages, and it's, again, completely free. You can just read it over. I also have a free ebook on holistic learning, which is sort of the learning strategy that I outline in a few articles on my site. So you can use any of the free resources. There's really a lot to look through if you want to go through it all.
Okay. I just realized I missed this question. I believe I was reading How to Get More Out of Life, that free ebook. And you talked about the difference between conscious focus and willpower in relation to changing bad habits. And I really didn't understand what you were saying about that.
All right. So just to explain, what I mean by willpower is, let's take the habit of exercising. So I know a lot of people come January 1st, they start exercising, they want to commit to it. And then, as we know, gyms are empty February, March, because a lot of people can't sustain it. So the habit question really addresses what's the difference between people who keep going at it and the people who don't. And I found that a lot of that breaks down to the people who don't do it use willpower a lot. And basically, that means that they're using guilt. Like they're saying, oh, I really need to go right now. They really have to summon it up and go to the gym. Whereas the people who succeed, they integrate it into a part of their routine, a part of their life, so that after a while, after a month or two, they don't need to think about it anymore. It just happens automatically. Or it becomes such a natural part of their life that they don't need to use guilt to do it. It just happens. They don't need to sit around debating about whether or not to go to the gym for half an hour. They just go. So conscious focus is the process of making that routine, which is different from the willpower, the guilt act of deciding to go in the moment. Conscious focus is, how can I make a plan so that this habit will last for the long term? So the method I kind of suggested in my book is to get 30 days where you go every single day without fail. And that's difficult to do. I'm not saying that's an easy feat to do. However, if you can go consistently, and the important point is that you go every single day, even if it's just for 20 minutes or half an hour, if you go every single day, then that makes it a routine. That makes it automatic. So by day 31, it doesn't require a lot of thought to say, oh, well, do I want to go to the gym today? You automatically factor it into your routine. You automatically make time for it. And I found that deliberate use of conscious focus is a lot more successful at changing behavior, not just getting rid of bad habits like smoking or junk food, but even just general things, like using a to-do list, keeping track of your finances. I've recently used the exact same approach in trying to learn French, in putting a certain amount of time each day to read some French books, which is something that otherwise I'd have to guilt myself in doing. By making it a habit, I'm doing it automatically.
Okay, thank you so much for explaining that so clearly.
No
and
problem.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I'm not sure exactly who your audience is and what they're listening to, but if they want to check out my site, it's scotthyoung.com/blog. Again, there's over 800 free articles on exactly the topics we've been talking about, and lots of free ebooks and stuff. So I welcome them to come by.
Your website one more time?
scotthyoung.com. Scott with 2 T's.
Okay. And thank you for your time, Scott. Have a good day.
All right, no problem.